back. I have to get my lighter so we can light our candle. Uptown's got its hustlers. The Bowery's got its bums. 42nd Street got Big Jim Walker. He a pull shooting son of a gun. Tonight's musical selection is Don't Mess Around with Slim by Jim Croce. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. Okay, can you hear me okay? And how annoying is that glare right there? Because I need to get a new phone. Yeah? Anybody want to? No, it's not annoying? Okay, let's get our peeps in here. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Happy holidays. Denise is coming in. Okay, good. Hopefully it'll be smaller once I'm...
Hey.
I love when you guys come in at the same time. Makes me so happy.
Good to see you both.
Hello.
Hi, Kamal. Hi, Denise.
You're an
Okay, let's
exceptional
do...
human being for being here at midnight.
That's what I was just like, let's do a quick time check here. What's going on, bro? Are you okay? It's late.
I'm surviving. Don't worry. I don't sleep, so it's all good. It's all good.
Oh.
Got your tea?
I don't actually, but I haven't got tea. But I'm gonna push through, so it'll be all good.
Right. Well, we'll try not to keep you too long.
Yeah, we won't keep you too long.
It is fun.
So, Kamal, welcome to the sometimes carnival that is the Jerri and Denise Live. We don't ever know how it's going to turn out. We just show up and we speak honestly, and we try to remember that sometimes we need to laugh and sometimes we need to be serious, but we always like to just be open and tell the truth. So we're very excited that you're here because you're so good at that.
Oh, bless you. Well, thank you very much for asking me. I'm kind of humbled and honoured. So thank you, and it's always a pleasure to. Well, I like listening to your stuff. I love your chats really, and the riffs that you go on. So I'm ready. Don't worry.
Well, good. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire.
Perfect.
Tell everybody who you are. Introduce yourself. You're very good at. I just love listening to you talk. So I'm going to let you and let you introduce yourself.
So, my name is Kamal Fernandez. I'm a professional dog trainer and dog sports coach. I'm based in sunny Sussex, which is in the UK, and it's on right at the bottom of the country, so on the coast. I live my life with a lot of dogs, a daughter, and I fill my day helping people with their dogs, whether it be for competition, for behavioural challenges, for just having nice dogs. So. And I've been on the FDSA faculty for, I think it's something like 12 years now. I think it's like 10 or 12 years, isn't it, Denise? I think it's something like that.
This has been a while. Wow, you were kind of one of the early guys on the boat.
Yeah. So was it? God, I can't even think now when it got sent. When did FDSA start?
I'm gonna say, this year's camp was 11, so we're coming up on 12.
Yeah. So probably around that sort of time span. So so that's a little bit about me.
We got some history, don't we now?
I know.
Do you know how I first knew of you?
Was it that we crossed paths when we taught at the same place?
We did, and we're not going to give too many details, but the person we were working for is a wee bit crazy. I don't know if you, Anyway, and so they were talking to me about you, and the part that stood out is that you spent a lot of time working out in the gym. That was the part. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever left.
That's the word on Kamal in the streets.
In the streets.
But it's working for him, so I got nothing to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember that, and you had a low drama approach to what was a high drama environment. That particular location was a very high drama environment, a challenging person to work for.
Yeah.
And I would say to this day, you are low drama. Like I've never seen you get sucked into anything.
I try not to. That's a conscious thought, I have to say. I do try to stay out of the mess as much as I can. There's been a couple of near misses. I would say that's probably how I met Jerry, was a near miss, I would say. But yeah, it's just not my thing, really. I tend not to focus too much energy, or I try not to put too much energy into things that can be what would define as drama, because I just think there's so much more productive things to do with your time. And I'm a very busy person. I just don't have the time to waste on drama, to be honest with you.
I like to find time. I like to find,
Well, that's honest.
where in that, look, there's just time for me to
squeeze
be
out just a few minutes before you get out of bed in the morning to just stir the pot. And then
that's what it is. She caught me. That's what it is. Is picking up that damn phone before I get out of bed. No more.
Yeah.
No more. I'm not doing it anymore.
We call that drama hour.
Yeah.
Right? That's the drama hour.
Yeah, it's like happy hour, but without any of the perks.
Exactly. And you're not awake enough to realize that you just threw a bomb in the fire, right?
Why
like
do you always do this to me? I'm trying to, I'm trying to while out here. Okay. Yeah. I mean, what's your, on that note, on the note of drama, what do you think, what are the ways that you are staying away? Like, and I'm not just talking about like social media. I'm just because dog training is just such a juicy little controversial little,
Yeah.
How do you, what are your ways? What is your advice on that?
Well, I suppose I've learned the hard way that because I have been in I suppose in certain aspects of my career, I definitely have been involved in my fair share of drama. I suppose it's just been within the sport or within the country that I operate in. So I understand what that is, and I think that my learning curve has been that the end doesn't necessarily justify the means. I think that you can, I suppose, what is drama? I suppose it's about what are you trying to achieve from it, really. And I think there is more effective and more purposeful ways. If you are really about change and want to, share an opinion, I think there's better ways of doing it than necessarily, I don't know, I suppose, thrusting your opinion onto others, really. I think there's ways of which you can share your opinion in a way that doesn't necessarily create, I don't know, animosity is not quite the right word, I suppose.
Well, maybe inflammatory stuff that's not inflammatory.
Yeah, and I'm very respectful of people having differences of opinions of me. I actually really think that's such a great, everybody's entitled to their way of being, and I'm not the be all and end all, and I know that I'm humble enough, hopefully, to know that I don't have all the answers, and I'm humble enough to listen to other people's opinion. Whether I agree with them or not, I suppose is not really the question. I just think, well, everybody's entitled to a difference of opinion to me. There's things that I feel really strongly about, and if you ask me, and if then I'm happy to have the discussion. I think social media is, a dangerous place to air your views because it can be misinterpreted. And I like this is like great because I like having conversations with people. I'm interested in what the person actually has to say and where is it coming from. That's my thing, really.
The long form interview is such a fantastic way to actually see what a dog trainer really thinks and who maybe they really are.
And kind of, if you get access to sort of their background too, you often get the why, and that provides a depth of understanding. It's not just yelling platitudes or whatever it is that we yell. It's here's who I am today and here's how I got here, which I think when somebody does that, like when they kind of help me understand who they are in their background and then they tell me who they are today, even if I don't love where they're sitting right now, it's hard not to understand. Like if you listen to understand, you walk away and you say, all right, well, I hope you come further in your life. I hope you get past maybe some of those things that have got you there. But, at the end of the day, I get it. I get it. And people say sometimes on on threads will say, I'll just never understand, and then they fill in the blank about what they never understand. And my standard response has said, it might be worthwhile to sit with it until you do understand.
Yeah.
Like, I know people don't mean it really when they say that, but I think we need to stop saying that as just a throwaway expression, because the implication is, if you can never understand, that means you didn't try.
We're not allowed to say that in recovery. We're not allowed to say, well, I have never driven drunk, because somebody in the group will go, yeah, like just really loud. It's the yets. Don't ever say I've never, because inevitably you will do that very thing. Every single time I say, I will never understand, I can hear that in my head. Like, why did you just say that? You've done some of the most appalling stuff. Like, what, and then I think of 10 different things that most people would never, that I, being who I am in this moment, would never do. But I did them. So it's like, the yets, they'll get you.
Yes. And getting older has a way of, like, because you start out when you're 5 with a lot of things you'll never do. Never kiss a boy. I mean, there's just so many, right? And then kind of it's like one by one, it's like, there's another one.
The dominoes
There's another
fall.
one.
Yeah.
There's another one. And then you're like, damn, I guess I better be careful with my words. And I love what you said, Kamal, about why are you engaged? Is it to express yourself, or is it to change? And you didn't even say anything about expressing yourself. You just said, I don't think it's the best way to create change, which kind of firmly places you, in my mind, in a space. So the reason you are here, the reason you are expressing yourself in your mind, is because I want to create change. I want to be heard. Whereas for some people, myself on occasion as well, it's actually to express my emotion. It's really nothing to do with change at all. I'm just feeling things, and I want people to know how I'm feeling the things. And so it's kind of an emotional, logical split.
Yeah.
And it was interesting that you just kind of went right to, the problem with the drama is I think there are better ways to create change. And you and I have talked about this a fair bit. We're very much on that kind of same page at this point. It's like, I have friends to express myself.
I mean, watching obviously because of having been involved with the FDSA for so long, seeing your, I don't know if the word evolution is the right word, but seeing your, you navigate the industry, and I've said this to you privately and publicly, how you've handled, some of the drama, and how you've changed and you've adapted and how you've learned and you've grown. I would say for the better, really, and the fact that you've borne the brunt of a lot of the stuff speaks a lot of to who you are. But just putting it back to you then, so how do you both view the whole drama, and let's just say whether you choose to interject into the conversation or not, where does that come from for you both then, just out of curiosity?
I think it depends on what it is. If it's just drama, if it's just people are arguing about something that I don't care about, that I'm like, this is not relevant. You guys are arguing about that, I generally don't get involved in that. If somebody's doing something that I think, what's the best way for me to put this? If somebody is doing something I think is dirty dog, underhanded, and I don't know if you've heard of this colloquialism in the UK, but pissing on my back and telling me that it's rain. Okay, stuff like that, I'm going to get involved. And I'm not just going to get involved, I'm going to throw a Molotov cocktail in there. Boom, right into the middle. Not because I just want to be inflammatory and I just want to, but I just have this overwhelming sense of justice, and the consequences will be what they are, and I will deal with them. So I get that that's not everyone's way of doing it, and I don't think everyone should do it like that. But I do get involved in things that I think are worth somebody going, that's wrong. Like, that's, what are you doing? Stuff like that. I will say something, because I think that, if what are platforms for? Are they just to make us money? Are they just to what? So that we can be in front of a camera? I mean, that sounds terrible to me. I thought that the bigger your platforms got and the better you were at being in front of the camera and talking and relating, that the more influence you would have. And if you have more influence, then why would you not use it? Now, the way I use it, I don't think everyone always agrees with, but I also have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I also have to, you know, really, I'm a lot harder on myself than I think anybody else would be. And so I do remember that I have to look at myself in the mirror every day. And if I do overstep, I'll either take something down, or I'll directly apologize, or I will say something after I have processed what's happened. Like, hey, do you remember when I was talking about such and such?
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about that. I was wrong. You know, or I'll, you know, just some of the things that I do.
So can this? I mean, whether you answer this or not is up to you. But what would be what's the last time that you felt that, okay, I need to speak up and say something? Then what would be?
Zach George, all day long, every day, still to this day. And I have to. This is the first time I've ever even said his name out loud. But I think it's past the point
Okay.
of where there's confusion.
Okay.
When you've made yourself into a meme, when people make parodies of you,
Mm-hmm.
when you're joked about in that way, that's far past people just not agreeing with your
Mm-hmm.
techniques.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's being pointed out
Mm-hmm.
that a person that has a great deal of influence is not a professional in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody was going to say anything because he wasn't really doing anything that was that harmful, right? He was making his YouTube videos, he was doing his little thing that he does. Okay, there's no harm in that.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with every single thing that he does to,
Mhm.
you know, do your thing. But then when it became about a narrative that I felt, and many others that I respect and I value their opinion, felt was becoming something else. And we saw it swirling for a while, and it became, you know, everything that we thought and dreaded it would become. So that's the last time. But other than that, I really, oh, and the events leading up to that.
Yeah.
So the lick you mat thing, I spoke out on that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that was weird and wrong. And I said something about impact crates, even though I don't care for impact crates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that impressed by steel cages.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a thing for me. I get the point.
Yeah.
But it's just not something I would, just the canceling of businesses. That's where I started to say, this is going down a path, you know, the general fear that people had of even
Yeah.
being on the internet, of even putting a simple training video out. There was fear in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's fear of saying the wrong thing, of tagging or posting the wrong trainer.
Yeah.
It was just this like layer of, you know, control
Yeah.
that made me really uncomfortable. And I saw a lot of really great trainers like Denise, people that are like pillars of this community,
Yeah.
that give every single thing that they have
Mm-hmm.
to the community, being made to look like charlatans
Yeah.
by a charlatan, by a snake oil salesman, you know.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that, it will really get me going, especially if like my
Yeah. Yeah.
friends are attacked and I know them privately and I know their constitution, and then
Yeah.
this person is saying something different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're you know, get the dogs, we ride at dawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is how I felt about it. But you know, Denise and I have talked about it a lot. And we just talked about how if there is a point to discussing some of these things, but when you give too much attention to something, not only are we drawing more attention to it, but we're taking time away from our own work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And our actual work, I think, to your point, Kamal, is that's what's going to change things, is our actual work in the community and the ideas that we have, not, you know, fighting a YouTube ogre.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so how do we combat that? And I just had to play more long game and less short game, which is much more reactionary. And how can we combat that? Well, I'll just go over to YouTube.
Yeah.
I'll just go over to YouTube and know that it's not going to be that simple. And you don't just go over to YouTube and then all of a sudden it's not the way it is. But I'm willing.
Yeah.
I'm willing to spend my time. I'm willing to try. I certainly know that there's not a lot of dog trainers over there. In terms of like larger platforms, it's just a few. And the choices, I think, are kind of slim pickings in terms of real behaviorists and people that really are, respected and doing work in the community. You guys are letting me talk so much. What's going
Oh, it's fine.
on?
I like hearing you. We are getting some feedback.
Are you? Maybe it's
Yeah. So what I do is when I'm not talking on those rare occasions, I mute my microphone, and I think that makes a better because I think sometimes it's our voices coming around in feedback.
Oh, but you know, Kamal. You're talking to Kamal, not me. Because I was like, I can't mute my microphone if I'm talking.
Oh, is it?
I'll mute you. That'll be fun.
Hang on. Hang on.
No, of course not.
Let's test it.
Yeah, well, can you guys hear me clearly? Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, so if we mute when we're not talking, and then when we see somebody's mouth move, we'll just say, and then eventually
I've been talking. I'm going to mute myself. I've been talking.
Well, though, I actually think these are not simple things. Like, when do you get involved in something? At what level? Like, what sparks it? Because I don't think it's black and white. Jerry will opt to get involved in things that I ought not to. And it's not that I think it's right or wrong. It's just, what are your opportunity costs? What else can you talk about? How much emotional toll does it take? One of the things I look at is anybody else already taking care of it? So if somebody says something that's not too kind or whatever, and I notice in the comments it's being addressed, then I don't feel the need to participate. But when I see what's turning into a piling on festival going on down in the comments, that is when I'm quick to say something. It doesn't mean I'm going to participate in the conversation. Most of the time I say one thing and I walk away, whatever it is I want to say, and then I move on. I don't need to be there. All I need to do is put the comment there so that it has the opportunity to change the possibility of the conversation. With Zach, for the longest time, while I thought he was losing his mind slightly, I think range is important. I think it's important that we have people all over the spectrum of thinking that I may or may not agree with. I don't think it's that important that I agree. And so while I was not agreeing with much of what he was saying for a long time, I felt he was being respectful about it. I felt that it was a more extreme point of view than but I didn't have a problem with it. And I felt that other people in the comments were addressing anything I might have said. And so I was pretty much willing to lay low. And then I felt that there was a change probably around the time right after around Licky Mat, I noticed things started to change, where it became much more about picking an individual and then going after it in some way and sort of, demanding this weird allegiance type thing. Like, Jerry, are you willing to stand up and say, like, this is
Jerry,
not church?
do you denounce capital punishment?
Exactly.
Or corporal punishment. It was corporal punishment in children. I was like, what?
This is not church. We're not doing baptisms. We're not driving out the devil. That's when it became complicated for me. And then when he kind of went after me personally, even that didn't bother me. I was just like, all right, well, now I'll just explain my point of view, because that's fine, right? You say yours, I say, and we all move on. And then it got weird. Like, after that, it became, I got tagged in so many stories in a day. I'm like, I don't have time for this. Like, I have to do. And then I was pretty happy to do my own thing, but I did have concerns about potentially just the wide damage to the industry. Even I blocked him at this point. I just want the peace, and I'm not that interested in what he's saying. But I did have concerns about how that person who has appointed themselves as a spokesperson, whether or not other people, if they heard it often enough, might actually think he was a spokesperson. And that really concerned me and still concerns me. Because when I speak, I say I. It is extremely rare that I say we unless the group is defined. So I'm talking about the FDSA Academy. We, right? But dog trainers? I would have to be in a position, appointed or somehow, to feel that I had the right to speak for a group. And it rattles me every time I hear him speak so comfortably and confidently about how we feel. And it shocks me that other people don't have that same reaction to somebody co-opting the script and saying, this is where we stand. Who is this we, But at the end of the day, I value my mental health. I feel like I did and said what I could do. And I've had, I think, relative peace since that time. And hey, I've been training dogs.
And this is our 14th, maybe 15th episode because of that time period that we've had all of these conversations now, because during that time period, it was like, oh my gosh, people don't even know what's going, it was pretty bad.
How
It was a
fantastic,
pretty
though.
dark, I know.
But,
It's
good
great.
things. And isn't that, like, as Kamal said, historically, I've been through it.
Mhm.
But you do come out a different, stronger person. I would say a less happy person. And what I mean by that, knowledge can make you sad. Awareness of how the world really is can make you sad. There's a recognition that a percentage of people are simply not rational. They're emotional. And those emotional people are quite damaging, because when they have a feeling, they express it no matter how much harm they do. So I would say I'm less happy because I know more. I think I have a clearer vision of the world. But I'm not sorry for that piece, because it also makes me wiser. And so when people are having a hard time and they contact me, I can often quickly say just a little bit. Like I can quickly figure it out what needs to be said. Somebody did that for me. She's an influencer on, not a dog person, but she's got a big platform, and we had some private conversations. And somehow some of this stuff came up. And one day she said to me, well, if you were walking down the street and a person who was obviously having some sort of a mental collapse started screaming obscenities at you, would you stop and try to have a rational conversation with them? And it was such a moment of, no, it's different because these people aren't irrational. And he was kind of like, oh, wait a second. Maybe it is the same. Maybe these are people who are just having such an emotional space, and I'm just there. So do I then engage with this person who's having, no, you move on, you're a little bit sad. And then it really was, and I did contact her again sometime after that to say, I just want to tell you that piece of advice was enormously impactful. Like, I don't even know if you remember it. I don't know.
That's pretty crazy, Denise, because a therapist said the same thing to me and it changed. I never let it go. This almost the exact same thing. But she said, what if you go to visit your friend in an insane asylum or a psychiatric hospital, whatever language you want to use, and you go up to they're on the second floor and you're visiting them and they start going in with their whatever. And you're like, you know what? I need to leave. I can't. And as you're leaving and you're walking down the long driveway, there they are at the window yelling, whatever they're yelling. Are you going to turn around and go back inside? And then
Right.
she just stared at me and I was like, well, no. And she's like, right. So maybe just keep walking. There's no reason to go back in and go past the guards and go back up to have a conversation with that person. And I think that's what we discovered with Zach. And yes. I don't mean that to be like petty or, to whatever. I mean that literally. Like, if you just watch someone and you watch their behavioral patterns and you watch how much they participate in circular conversation, you can expect what you see, and so we just walked away from it and decided to disengage. And the way that I know that was the right answer is that sometimes you can just go and check on the person. How do they look? Are they doing well? Are they invested in their hobbies? Are they talking about the things in their life that they're excited about? Are they, nurturing their relationships? Are they doing all the things and living it up? If so, cool, that's great. And you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was something in there and it was me or whatever. But when I go back and I look at the person and it's a plane crashing into the side of a mountain repeatedly on a daily basis, I have to be like, okay, my discernment was right. And to orbit in that world would have made me feel that energy, or that, kind of mind, I guess, is the way that I think about it.
Well, when you're around happiness, happiness is contagious, and so is unhappiness. And so there are people in my life who are unhappy, but I care a lot about them. And so I use my energy I spend my energy there, and I get a certain amount of my happiness sucked away, but it's okay because those are people I care about. There's only so many. I mean, to do that for random people on the internet doesn't make a lot of sense. So on the internet, I want to spend my energy around the happy people who are kind of pulling me to a better, happier, brighter place when I can, as best I can. And that improves my well-being. And then I think that becomes circular, so who you choose to be around, it matters a lot. And, that's why I really moved away from TikTok, because TikTok it feels very much like high school.
It's
And
so spot on.
I go on TikTok all the time, and actually TikTok almost doesn't show me dog stuff anymore. So they seem to have figured out that I find other stuff much more interesting, which is perfect, And then every once in a while, I'll see a dog video and I'll realize there's some drama going on, but I don't really know what it is. And no part of me is like, oh, I want to find out. Like, I'm not feeling the pull, but what I do notice is it's always the same people. And I was thinking about this today, birds of a feather flock together. Now, I have an incredibly wide range of friends, and I like that. But a lot of people, what you notice is if you have a certain kind of issue with one, you start to notice that lots of people who hang out with them actually have the same thing. And so while I don't judge people based on their friends, it's a point of awareness. So if I notice that one person, that 5 of the people that comment on their stuff are people who have had quite a bit of grief in the past, there's a pretty good chance that that person is going to show a similar behavior pattern. 1 or 2 people, I don't think twice, but when it's this, because there are groups, people do travel in little packs. And it actually, it helps because you need some way to sort of sort quickly through who's out in the world. Because there's just, I think all of us probably have a lot of contact with a lot of people. And you only have so much time to try to figure out if the person in front of you is relatively genuine. Mm-hmm. And there are packs that run together. Although as a whole, TikTok is just, my God, what a dumpster fire.
Do you have TikTok, Kamal?
I have a TikTok account, and we obviously have it over here. But a bit like Denise says, I tend to only, I pop some stuff on there sporadically. Yeah. But again, it's one of those things that you think, do I want to invest the effort into, it's a bit what you were saying earlier, just it was interesting listening to you both about the Zach George thing. And I suppose the reason I didn't really, this can sound horrible, but I didn't really pay much attention to him in general, not for any reason that I just don't generally look at a lot of people I don't watch a lot of people on social media. There's a couple of people that I would obviously look at Denise's stuff and, on your stuff on Instagram. But I do it more because I like when you put a funny, humorous video, I'll hit like, or something that resonates with me. But to actually go, I just generally, I know that sounds, I just don't have the time to go and watch, somebody talking however long about. And I knew there was this thing going on with Denise and then, Zach was then with Michael, and I was like, oh, you know what? I just don't have time I don't have the time. And if I'm truthful, I didn't really have the interest to go, right, let me go and read through this and get myself up to speed. He did reach out to me before the chat that we had. And to be honest, it just was bad timing in that a friend of mine was very, very ill, and I wasn't in the headspace to have conversations about, what he wanted to, the reason he reached out. I was very courteous because I said, I've literally just got back from a friend of mine who's very, very ill. I'm not in a great headspace to discuss this. He was very courteous, and that was about the extent of our conversation. So, and that's it really. I mean, as I said, I make that choice not to sort of get too embroiled in those things. Not because the difference is if it was a face-to-face interaction and if something happened in front of me, I'd absolutely interject. But I suppose with the internet, I take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, really. Often the people, you see people think like drama, say for example, unfolding, and you kind of go, I know what you're like a person. You're not that person, so I'm not quite sure why you're. I know you. I've known you for a long period of time. I know that you are actually, behind that diatribe that you're spreading. I know actually there is a good person, and vice versa. I know that. So I tend to sort of take it a little bit with a pinch of salt, and but like Denise says, just focus my energy on the things that I feel that I connect with, and I listen to people that, and as I said, I don't really follow that many. I don't follow, that's unfair. I probably technically I do follow people on social media, but I don't actually sit down and watch many people train dogs. I'm very selective about who I choose to go and watch and who I find interesting to listen to and like the conversations, because I think there's so much more to be said than about methodology. I think there's so much more interesting conversations that could be had, which would lift us all, greater conversations, as opposed to what particular device how you choose to train a dog. I think there's so many more interesting things that we could be discussing. And whilst I appreciate those things, methodology and people are very passionate about, I just think if you want to reach people and change their form, which was the point I made, was we should be really about educating people about what their dog is and meeting their dog's needs, and forget what methodology or how they choose to fix a problem. Do they even know that dog needs X, Y, and Z? And that dog is of a certain type of dog, and just using a snaffle mat isn't going to cut it. But in that situation, that would be a brilliant option for that dog because of X, Y, and Z. So we all have our different ways of. I take my hat off to you, because you both seem to navigate those situations. Well, is not the right word, but you seem to navigate those situations in a way that that articulate. I suppose what comes across is how passionate you are about what you believe in, and that's why I like passionate people. Anybody that's, I don't care what their passion's for. Anybody that's passionate about something, I can really sort of. I just like to hear people that have that level of passion. Sometimes that can go a bit left, but we're only human at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's much easier to listen to people about the subject matter when they're passionate. I know, I mean, I love dogs, and I've listened to people that have just bored me senseless, so I totally get that. Well, that's interesting that you guys are, that was my feelings about TikTok a couple of years ago, so I switched over to Instagram because I first got, the majority of my following on TikTok, and then kept being horrible, and then my account got banned. And then, then I had to restart it, and then build and build. And after a while, I realized that whatever it was that I was trying to do, TikTok was not the place for that. That TikTok might be the place for other things, and I might find a way to make that useful within my messaging or something. But my 14-year-old makes videos and uploads them on that app. And if that's what's going on that app, then we can be in Temu boxes come to my house all the time. And if that's what's going on in the app, we can be sure that that's what's going on the app. They're not there to learn about dog training. It's a shopping app. And we knew they were going to turn it into that a couple years ago. And you're just slowly watching the progression of it turn into user-generated content for ads. Yeah, there's still great content on TikTok. I'm the same as Denise. I watch it. I have this thing that I do where my friend curates a perfect TikTok experience for me by sending me 100 videos throughout the week that she thinks are good, that she knows I'll like. And I get on and I watch all of them on a Sunday. I'm like, oh, it's Chelsea TikTok time. And I watch all of them, and there's great videos on there. There's informative things. There's all kinds of stuff. But it is a great place if you want to sell stuff. If you want to attach your shop, if you are doing a lot of user-generated content and you're, creating ads and things like that, TikTok is great for that. But if you're
It
trying
is,
to do
it
community, I
is.
think Instagram's a little better. Facebook's better.
I do like TikTok a lot for learning about things that I just don't know about. There's just all kinds of, but any old random topic, and you start searching it. And of course, you've got to kind of sort, of course, through the good and the bad. But if you work at it, you will find people there who are just very thoughtful and educate you. And the way it's set up allows it to be easy to search, so that would be hard to do on Instagram or Facebook, to search by a topic. And then for reasons I don't understand, TikTok occasionally just decides that I might find something interesting, So they dropped me into, let's see, adoptees, the deaf community, P. Diddy. Yeah. So that's terrible, by the way. But anyway, so for the first two, I mean, these are not topics I have a lot of knowledge of. I just don't. In my life, these weren't things that I got a lot of information. And I found them really interesting. And I would watch a video, read some comments, and then, you can take a comment and go look at something else. You know how it works. And I feel like I got a really good education on some stuff. And I know enough to know how to sort through what makes sense from what doesn't make. Like, I think it'd be harder for a 20-year-old, but I can kind of tell. And I feel like I learned good things and like, well, what are the pros and cons? And I love looking for the people in the comments who are contrary, because that's when you really start getting to sort of the heart of the argument. And I think even in the dog world, that can be the same, right? So somebody's doing some training thing, whatever it is, and somebody else is yelling, whoever's yelling, because somebody's always yelling. And if you go back and forth, and if you want to understand, even a non-dog person, if they stick with it, can start figuring some stuff out. Like, they may not have an opinion about right or wrong, but they can at least start getting the argument. And that's kind of cool. I mean, that is cool. I don't know how many people use it intelligently, but I will say that I'm not the one who's going to speak up on most of the things that get said. But sometimes I'm really glad for some of the comments that are there, because they create balance in a place where otherwise, something would stand unchallenged. And 18-year-olds like to challenge, especially when they're doing it anonymously. So I leave that to them. But, I need a fake account. I don't have any fake accounts. Maybe I need to get myself a fake account so I can just run around and say things. I don't know. I don't even know if I want to do that, but I could.
No, don't fall. Don't go to the darkness, Denise. Don't. There is. So whenever I was listening to somebody talk about this the other day, there is like this reckless abandon, this freedom in creating a fake account and trolling on the internet. And I was like, wow, I can't even imagine. Because when you get a check mark by your name, whatever you say is what you're saying. You're not, you're saying it. People can see that it's there. They see your check mark. That's your brand. That's you. Nobody hacked you. You've said it, and to me, there's a freedom to that, like, I'm going to say what I say, and this is, this is attached to me. But Grinch fingers, maybe I do sometimes think it would be a little fun to troll, except I think that my language and like syntax is specific and people would know it was me. They'd be like, that sounds like Jerri. This is her troll account. Do you think that you would ever create a fake troll account, Denise? Kamal, we know that you're too good for that. But Denise and I,
So I like to think of myself as the middle road, right? So Kamal over there, he's the high road. Jerri, I'm sorry, but you're the low road. So that puts me in the middle. Now, would a middle road person have a troll account? Okay, now here's an interesting question, right? I will say that on Reddit, I have 2 accounts. So I have my own personal account, but I don't really use either one. So I don't actually say much. I did that, but my intentions were actually good. Sometimes I want to say something without the weight behind it. So,
yeah.
So if it's a dog training suggestion or whatever, I don't want to shut down the conversation. And sometimes if my position comes in, it will shut down all the alternatives. And I'm not,
Yeah.
sometimes I really don't want to do that. And so I would make the same comments as somebody else. Never rude. Not, I wasn't trolling. I was truly, but I was always kind of fascinated by how this would go, because you suddenly realize what it's like to be the other 99%.
Yeah.
Because nobody gives a fuck what you say when you don't.
Nobody
So
cares.
the words I say, everything is exactly the same. Yeah. And a few people might acknowledge and like the comment or whatever, but it doesn't, it's different,
Denise said
exactly.
it. Yeah. And then there's some people 500 likes next to it,
Right. Or I don't know, it just gets weird. Or if you get challenged, you have to think a lot about exactly how you say things, right? Whereas if you come in as just anybody, you still got to put the words down. And that's really what I wanted, was just to say, I hope you could think about it like this. But I never did that. And then on Facebook, I made a second account as a backup account just in case I got banned, because I've had a lot of trouble on Facebook with them thinking, I said something once, I was joking. Somebody said they were going to leave the list for a while. And I said, I might have to hunt you down. Oh, damn, that got me a week. I got nailed for that. The next one was I got a spam thing. Somebody invited me to join the Illuminati. So I put that on Facebook and I said, do you think I should join? Bang, 2-week suspension for that, because they thought I was the spam.
But you missed out on the Illuminati invitation.
Well, I did, because I
banned
publicized it
from Facebook.
I screwed up. So I made myself a backup account so that if I got, shut down, I could keep working. Well, that bit me in the ass, because 2 weeks ago, somebody took over that account. A hacker got my backup account. And because they took it over, I can't do anything about it. So I reported it to Facebook, who they don't care. They could care less. So there's nothing I can do. It's just like,
is somebody out there pretending to be you and like posting as you and commenting as you?
That's a really good question. I don't even know. I know
took
that
the account over and they're like,
oh my God, can you imagine? Oh, somebody could have such a field day. Oh my. Oh wait,
they're all up in Zach George's page, liking everything that he posts.
Yeah. They're reposting,
but
and you're
wouldn't it be fun if you could do that? Okay, so like if I could take over, let's just say Zach's account. Oh my goodness, I could be running around, like going on all the shot caller accounts and saying good work or whatever. Just absolutely wreck havoc. Okay, so that's what I mean by middle road. See, I just expressed out loud these thoughts.
Yeah, I'm thinking something different. No, you, Kamal, we want to hear about the high road. I don't know what it's like up there. Is it paved
up there?
Yeah,
I don't. I'm gold.
The shade. I just find it with Denise. It's like, I was amazed, Denise, because you're so good at always. Like, now I can see why you would want to have a second account, because you're so good at. You're very intentional. You're very. I think about my words and how I view it from the other person's. Like that you've definitely done that in FDSA. Like, you're very good on that. Because I have to say, it's ironic because I'm very normally I'm a really blunt, direct, call a spade a shovel type of person. And I have to say, because of FDSA, I think I wouldn't say, I'm definitely more aware of like my dialogue and how it could, and that's because of you. And the irony is now, you're now like trying to, you're contemplating creating an alias account, so you can unleash the inner Denise, which I think is somewhat ironic.
I wrote a book called Conversations with Reka, and it's about my old dog. Yeah, it was, for those listening, it's about a dog who died several years ago. But for years on Facebook, I was writing stories from her point of view, and we were talking and such. But the reality is, Reka is my inner snarky. So when you read her voice, that's me. And my husband is the one that pointed that out to me. He's like, oh, you're actually Reka. Like, your Denise part is your public self, the way you present yourself. But Reka is when you're, with your friends or just kind of like relaxing and whatever. That's actually kind of my sense of humor and how I communicate. So I publicly had my opportunity to be my snarky self just by assigning it to my dog. And that was that. It was fun.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that that my public persona is my snarky self, and then the private me is probably no. I think the private me is also pretty snarky.
I don't know, you, Jerri, I think you've got a lot of range. Because, like, when you and I talk privately, you're like, we have all of it. Like, you've got the sarcasm, but you have a pretty serious side. So I think it's just, yeah, and you do that publicly, too. I think you show all of that.
I definitely, I would agree. I think you're very authentic in how you hold yourself on social media, because you don't, it definitely doesn't come across as 100% snarky. That definitely doesn't come across.
Oh, God knows that's taken practice. Thank God that last TikTok account got banned. I was thinking about some of the things I used to say to people just for like simply disagreeing with me. I would say the most hateful, like, I don't know. I don't know. You know, I wish I had an explanation
you were just
for it.
You were responding to the platform, though. So, you know, we talk about rise to the occasion. Well, what do you call that? Fall to the bottom? Like, it's sort of like, you know.
Well, no, I mean, the way that I thought of it was like I was in the zombie apocalypse and I had a shotgun and I'm blasting my way out of this. You know, that's basically how I approached TikTok. Instagram, I approached it like boot camp, crawling on the ground through mud underneath barbed wire and live rounds. You know, like, and YouTube is like the vast horizon of the West that I've yet to explore. And I've got my covered wagon. I'm going. You know?
The problem I have with YouTube, I hate that you have to make these stupid, catchy titles. Watch while this dog eats through this building or whatever. And I just like, that makes my skin crawl to kind of have to promote that way. But obviously it kind of works. But the problem is it also influences who you attract. So instead of getting smart people, you get people who are curious about watching a dog eat its way through the wall, right? It's like, that's not like the level. But I also know that sometimes you just have to get out to a broader audience. And
that's exactly
I find that's a dilemma, you know, because high quality followers mean a lot to me. And every time I've had a bigger video, I have observed that as it goes further and further afield from my regular people, the quality of the responses get worse and worse and worse until I'm starting to go, wow, these people are part of our society. This is a little scary, right? And then I ask myself, do I actually want to attract? You know, I find that a dilemma.
So Denise, can I, just out of interest, did you foresee, did you go intentionally into, I mean, obviously FDSA wasn't created as such, but did you set out to be a Instagram influencer, or was that, or did it just happen organically? I mean, obviously your intention behind the FDSA was to promote a certain methodology, make it accessible, blah 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 blah, but it's grown into a whole nother thing with you.
I don't know about the first time I got in trouble on social media, like 5 years ago. I don't remember what my specific crime was, but whatever it was, the first time I got hit by social media, I remember people saying, you're an influencer and and I actually did not know what an influencer was. So I had to go look it up. And I think by then most people knew what that was. I wasn't thinking that way. I still don't really think that way. I really think I'm an educator who has influence. And I'm more interested in being perceived as a person who has breadth and depth of knowledge in the dog world for people who really want that specific quality. Like, if you look at my account, it's not well suited to most people. Like, sometimes I throw up something fun or cool or whatever, but it's just not like, here's how you get a straight sit, and then I do a voiceover for a minute. It's like, how many people does that appeal to? Or, you know, I put up a couple. I know, but, you know,
but that's it. I don't watch anybody else really do it.
Yeah,
it's just the particular way you do it is I like. but I
I
know what
hope
you're
that
saying.
I'm attracting the right, I really want to attract thinking people, not the emotionally overwhelmed people, the thoughtful people who, because what happens is if they are that way around dogs, they're probably that way around life.
Mhm.
And I just find those people interesting to interact with. And I think those are people that I want to influence. Like, I want to influence people who I think are smart and who are making an educated decision to listen, as opposed to influencing people who are just hysterical and they listen to me because I've scared them, right? If you ever do this to your dog, he's probably going to go on a neighborhood rampage. And, you know, like, I don't want those people following me. I want people following me saying, wait a second, are you exaggerating? Like, you know what I mean? And so I still don't think of myself as an influencer. I think of myself as a person who has a degree of respect in the industry and who more people know. That still surprises me. It still surprises me when somebody says, oh, I know who you are. I'm like, how is that possible? How do you know me? You know, so that's still very odd. It's fun, but it's odd. But I think to be an influencer, your goal really has to be to go wide. And that's not really my goal. My goal is to gather people who already are thinking hard and give them my point of view. So I guess that's how I would say it. I don't know. What about you, Kamal? Where do you stand on all this social media stuff?
I mean, I suppose I don't. I suppose because I'm not like as big as on social media as probably you guys. Well, definitely not you guys. I suppose I just do my little thing and I like my little lane. You know, I try to be active on social media and share things that and obviously to on ideas and methodology. I don't generally use it for to engage in things like like doing drama. That's definitely not on my agenda. But I suppose I don't know. I just I like Facebook. I like the medium of community. I like the community entity. I like being able to sort of have dialogues with people. I like the fact that it can create this sort of conversation. Like, how else would the three of us be now having this interaction if it wasn't for social media? So I like that entity. But I suppose I think it's an amazing tool that we have available to us in society now, which obviously we didn't have at one point. And I think, as you both have said in various ways, it comes with a level of responsibility. It comes with you have to know how to utilize it for good. You have to understand that there's a backlash for it. I suppose because of one work I've done, and I suppose in this sort of we're touching into social media and how it can impact young people. I'm very aware of my little bit of responsibility that I have to sort of conduct myself in a way that others can resonate with. Because I think the danger of social media is that people can take it as they certainly things like Instagram, they think that a lot of it is reality and they use it as their sole source of information. And I suppose we're fortunate that we come from a period before the internet when that wasn't, you couldn't just go online and Google and get the answer to things. You had to do it another way. So I think that I have mixed views about it. I understand what it is. I think it's a really powerful tool. I like the way in which my current relationship with it exists. I mean, I haven't, and I suppose that is intentional. I haven't fallen foul to the level of, let's say, trolling or backlash that you guys have, you both have had. So I haven't, because I've consciously not, for want of a better term, manifested that. I have a different relationship with social media. I suppose, in short, I haven't been scorned by it really, so I can take it for what it is. It is, and the thing is, it's a necessary entity of how we work now, isn't it? Really, so certainly in the businesses that we have, and also because I think that it's a great place to share, like I said, to influence change, to see if I can just, get people to look at their training and their dog training and their relationship with their dogs maybe slightly differently. And if that's the little tiny nudge that I can make in my mind is forward, then great, really. Yeah, I think you have to take it for what it is.
So I'm curious, Kamal, in the beginning you said you are doing in-person, you're doing your online program. What are your percentages now? How much of your time is a dog and a handler in front of you versus maybe a private Zoom lesson versus managing your community? How are you spending your time?
Probably for me, it's probably